Call the meeting to order as Chief Administrative Officer of the Fraser Valley Regional District. It is Thursday, January the 14th, 2021, and we're meeting as the Electoral Area Services Committee. As has been our practice over the past number of months due to COVID-19, we have a motion for your consideration, which enables us to conduct this meeting entirely in an electronic environment. So just looking for a mover and a seconder.
Move. Second.
Moved by Dr. Stobart, seconded by Director Dickey. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. So now we will move to the election of Electoral Area Services Committee Chair. To facilitate this election, I would like to ask for a first call of nominations for Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee.
I'd like to nominate Bill Dickey.
Thank you, Director Engar. Director Dickey, do you accept this nomination?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other nominations? For a second time, are there any other nominations for the position of Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee? For a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that Director Dickey is the Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee.
Okay.
So moving next, if you don't mind, Chair Dickey, I would be happy to conduct the election for Vice Chair.
Please go ahead.
So at this time, I would ask, are there any nominations for the position of Vice Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee?
I'll nominate Al Stobart.
Thank you, Director Engar. Director Stobart, do you accept this nomination?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So are there any other nominations for the position of Vice Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee? For a second time, are there any other nominations for the position of Vice Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee? And for a third and final time, are there any nominations for the position of Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee? Seeing none, I close the nominations and declare that Al Stobart is the Vice Chair of the Electoral Area Services Committee. So with that election completed, I'll just turn it over to item 4 on your agenda, seeking remarks by our Electoral Area Services Committee Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman, and thank you, electoral area directors. I always feel like I perform a pretty minor role in this organization. It always seems that the heavy lifting is being done by the individual directors. Nevertheless, I think we've developed a pretty cohesive group amongst ourselves, and we bring a really good cooperative spirit to the East Committee, and a sense of understanding that we need to compromise to move all of our areas forward. So I do thank you once again. 2021 is shaping up to be an important year for us, a lot of issues to address. So it should prove interesting. Look forward to working with everyone. I'll turn things back to Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Chair Dickey. So it's looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
For a motion. Move Director Dixon, second
Adamson.
Director Adamson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Contrary, the motion carries.
6.1, we have the draft Electoral Area Services Committee meeting minutes of December 8th, 2020.
For motion.
Move Stobart.
Move Director Stobart, second.
Engar.
Second Director Engar. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
7.1, we have the Electoral Area Directors and Local Government Leadership Academy Forums from February 2nd to 4th, 2021. There's a motion for your consideration.
Okay, mover,
Dixon,
move Director Dixon, second
Adamson.
Director Adamson. Any discussion? I just might go, pardon me? Did somebody have something to say? Anyways, I'm going to say that the Electoral Areas Forum might prove more interesting this year than always. I spoke with our UBCM representative, Grace McGregor from Grand Christina Lake, regarding the COVID restart funding that we've talked about. And the sense I get is that the electoral area directors in the province really aren't aware of what's been taking place with this issue. And Grace said that she would be preparing people prior to the February forum to be ready to speak to this. So I really, unless there's something I'm missing, this really seems like something that's very inequitable. I am quite prepared to listen to any arguments from the province as to why this was allocated to the electoral areas. But from what I've heard so far, I really can't understand why we were left out. So it would be great if other electoral area directors attended the forum and were ready to speak in favor of a reallocation of funding. So that's
Davidson?
my knowledge of that file. Any other discussion?
Director Davidson has requested.
Adamson.
Please go ahead, Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. I do have some questions on that subject. I don't know if this is the right point to get into that, but in my mind, I'm not entirely sure what the inequity is, and I would like more information before I could sort of comment more on it, but just FYI. Thank you.
Good. Thank
Adamson.
you, Director Davidson. So speaking with Ms. McGregor, she did say that she would be emailing all the electoral area directors throughout the province and trying to get people prepared for the discussion and the issues. So I don't know what that will entail, but I will be certainly following this. And if I feel that the background materials aren't sufficient for our preparation to discuss the issue, I'll ask staff if they can converse with the provincial authorities and try and get some background materials. Thank you, Director Davidson. Adamson, did you have a say?
Yeah, on the inadequacy of funds, I totally agree. But that on this, just this forum, even without that, I believe that we have to support these organizations in this time because they have bills to pay like everybody else. So I'm going to be going to it or not, watching it or whatever. I support it because they need the money, basically. That.
Good. Thank you, Director Adamson.
Dixon.
Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations, by the way. I'm just curious, I know I might have missed an email. Do we register ourselves or just us around that?
I'll turn that over to staff, Director.
Yeah. I see Ms. Van Ness has come on the screen. Did she want to speak to that?
Yeah, so we'll have our executive assistant, Kristen Kohutch, follow up with our East Committee after this meeting just to see who might be interested in attending both of the conferences. So we will follow up in that regard and we'll take care of registration for that.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van Ness.
Engar.
Director
Engar.
Dixon. Director Engar.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Yeah, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'm really pleased to hear that you're of like mind, and I think there should be some also support for the electoral areas as the COVID-19 relief funds. Specifically, just to be brief, at this time, we have the ambassador program to start here in the Valley. And that was, I had to fund that. I didn't have to, but I decided to fund that as a necessary outcropping from the huge amount of visitors we had to the valley this year. And it proved very successful. So that's in my mind, just one aspect to what we need for funding in my electoral area. And I'm sure each area has their own needs as well. So I'd be happy to speak to that in the forum as it comes along. Thanks.
Good, thank you, Director Engar. Any other discussion?
Bales.
Director Bales, please go ahead.
Yeah, I pretty much mirror what you've said and Director Ingar as well. It has impacted our communities, so definitely would like to get in on that discussion. Having gone to a virtual UBCM meetings, I just don't feel like it's as effective, but I guess we're stuck with that. There's no chance that it would be revised, I suppose, just to staff. There's hardly any time to plan it otherwise, I'm guessing.
Through the chair to Director Bales, no, this would be a fully electronic conference, and I would suggest that all of the conferences for 2021 are likely to be virtual. Everything that has come through our office at this point is suggesting that, and particularly because, as you stated, things have to be planned for and booked so far in advance. Many of these conference centers and hotels and things don't have the ability to maintain the kind of physical distancing that will likely still be necessary even after people are vaccinated.
Good.
Okay, great.
Ms. Kinnaman, and thank you, Director Bales. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Contrary, the motion carries.
Item 7.2, we have the 2021 Christmas closure of the FBRD offices.
For a motion,
Stobart.
move Director Stobart, second. Director Dixon. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.1, we have the FBRD Electoral Area C Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1621 and FBRD Electoral Area C Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1620 to facilitate the development of a film production facility. There's a motion for your consideration, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so looking for a motion.
Bales.
Move Director Bales, second.
Dixon.
Second Director Dixon, any discussion?
Oh, I just threw to staff. This is Bales.
Go ahead, Director
Through to
Bales.
staff. I just wondered, has there been any public questions yet, or is that have the proponents or the applicants send out a mail out yet, or would that come right after this or the board approval?
Okay, Ms. Kinnaman, did you want to direct that?
Sure, I think we can direct that to Mr. Daniels.
Thank you. Through the chair, the applicant will be undertaking a mail out to the community to let them know what their intentions are. And as Director Bales suggested, indeed, yes, that would happen after the zoning bylaw receives first reading from the board.
Okay.
So can I just ask, is there any requirement for staff to also do a mail out or make sure that it goes to the right people?
If I may, through the chair, yes, indeed. We want to make sure that mail out gets to the community and the area that we intend. In most cases, this means that we work with the proponent and provide, the proponent often would provide us with stuffed envelopes, which we address and send, and of course, a postage, which we address and send out. And that's a way to of course, to avoid sharing people's addresses inappropriately. So we would be working with the proponent to make sure that the mail out goes to the right area. As the file progresses and we get closer to a public hearing, we will have to do our own mail outs to let people know about a forthcoming public hearing and then any other opportunities for engagement that there are. For example, we'd want to let people know that all the background studies are available on our webpage, how to reach staff if they have questions, those sorts of things.
Okay, so I guess my only concern is that the mail out go to everyone in Lake Eric that has to cross the railway crossings, because I think that could be a concern and could impact everybody as to that. It's been raised in the media. There has been protests about the crossing and just the traffic. So I would just hope that we can expand. The mail out is usually 150 meters, so I would hope that it goes to everybody in Lake Eric, on the other side of the crossing. So if you can get my general area drift.
Through the chair, if I may, yes, indeed, this is a major development proposal and both a zoning and community plan amendment. And it's the kind of proposal that deserves a lot of attention and awareness in the community. We'd like to work with you, Director Bales, to settle the mail out area. Perhaps when we can coordinate offline and outline the area that you have in mind.
Oh, and one more thing, and not to be forgotten, Scowlitz I would expect that for them to also get the mail out. So, okay, that's about all, I guess.
Good. Thank you, Director Bales. Any other discussion? I'm expecting this to be a very interesting file. We'll see where we go with it. So hearing no other discussion, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item is 8.2. We have the Agricultural Land Commission application for a 2-lot subdivision at 37071 Lohi Highway in Electoral Area G.
You motion,
Move option 1.
move Director Stobart, second
Adamson,
Director Adamson. Any discussion?
Mr.
Director Stobart.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Although I'm certainly very supportive of families being able to continue to live on properties that they've been on for many, many years, there are certainly some issues with access to this particular one. So I'm hoping that down the road we'll see it come back again and be able to, after the ALCs look at it, and perhaps move forward with it. But for now, moving it, just forwarding it to the ALC makes sense to me.
Good. Thank you, Director Stobart. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.3, we have Agricultural Land Commission application for a proposed subdivision lot line adjustment at 38332 Nakaman Island Trunk Road, also in Electoral Area G.
For motion,
Move option 1. Move forward with support.
thank you.
second,
Director
Adamson.
Stobart, second Director Adamson. Any discussion? Certainly, I wouldn't speak against either of these two applications, but just a question on procedure, maybe through to Mr. Danluce. I understood that the procedure of filing applications with the Land Commission was changing and that only local governments would be able to make applications. Am I wrong about that, Mr. Danluce?
Thank you, Chair. The Agricultural Land Commission changed the rules around the filing of applications related to exclusions from the ALR only. And so local governments and provincial agencies are the only bodies that can make exclusion applications. Property owners can continue to make subdivision and a variety of other applications to the Land Commission.
Good, thank you for clearing that up for me. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary, the motion carries.
8.4, we have a development variance permit 2020-25 to reduce the front setback from 6 meters to 4.5 meters for a single family dwelling at 10080 Mountain View Road in Electoral Area F. And there is a motion for your consideration.
Okay,
David.
for a motion, move Director Davidson, second.
Stobart.
Adamson. Whatever.
Move second Director Adamson. Any discussion?
Davidson.
Go ahead, Director Davidson.
Similar to Director Bale's inquiry, just for this particular DVP, any rough estimates to how many properties would be notified during using your standard notification buffers?
Okay, through to staff.
Thank you, Chair.
Good.
The standard mail-out radius for a variance permit application is 30 meters. This is an area of small lot properties in the order of 8,000 and 9,000 square feet. I'm going to take a guess and assume that a 30-meter mail-out radius is going to capture in the order of 8 or 10 properties. And Director Davidson, if you feel like a larger mail-out radius is appropriate, I'd be pleased to talk with you offline and outline an area that you feel is appropriate.
Let's do have that talk if we could. But yes, I'll support the motion. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Director Davidson. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Contrary, the motion carries.
Moving down to 9.1, we have letter to UBCM recommending a standing committee on emergency management. Just to summarize in advance of the motion, this is the first of a number of items that I expect you will be seeing in the next number of months. Perhaps also seeing some conversations at your LGLA leadership event later in February. Just related to some of the changes that are expected as part of the Emergency Program Act modernization, constraints on the ESS programs, and as they relate to local government. So this is a request or a suggestion from staff that we recommend to UBCM that the current committee that is in place that was established, I guess back in 2018, actually become a standing committee of UBCM since these issues continue to persist and broaden.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. Looking for a motion. Moved Engar, second Director
Second, Adamson.
Dixon. Any discussion?
Dixon.
Move Director Dixon, or pardon me, please go ahead, Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just thank you. I just really wanted to, there are so many changes and so much going on in the emergency management realm that I'm just really thankful to see that us trying to stay on top of it and continue to get the UBCM support. So thanks to the staff or Chair Lum for sending this forward on our behalf.
Thank you, Director Dixon. Director Engar.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm just wondering beyond sort of funding issues that I noted in the report, are there any outstanding things that really jump out in front of us? I'm not familiar with all the issues, and I just, any more, anything you could expand on, staff, would be appreciated.
Thank you, Director Engar. Ms. Kinnaman, did you want to take that?
Well, you know what? Mr. Daniluz has recently taken over the emergency management section, and I know that he's been quite involved in the dialogue that's been going on around the province as well as Ms. College. So maybe we'll just turn it over to Mr. Daniluz first to have a crack at it.
Thank you. Through the chair. The province has put out a discussion paper about proposed change to the Emergency Management Act. And as staff, we provided feedback back to the province and identified a number of areas where we feel like the proposed changes would or could potentially result in cost increases to local governments. Now, we don't know what the province's response to this feedback is yet, and we don't know what shape the forthcoming legislation will take. But we do anticipate that it will put cost pressures on local governments. And that's one of the reasons that we're suggesting that this UBCM committee stick around a little bit longer and broaden its scope so it could be a focal point for these kinds of conversations with the province.
Good, thank you.
And if I could just add to that just a tiny bit, I had an earlier conversation with Director Dickey, and I think that one of the things that maybe often goes unnoticed by the province is the fact that while that we have, as a regional district, we have legislative requirements to respond to these emergencies, Ultimately, your staff are the same very people that have to do all of that work. And so the regular business of the regional district slows down, or in some cases, projects have to get put aside every time there's an EOC activation. And so while the province may cover some of the costs associated with these EOC activations, certainly there is a cost ultimately to that constraint on the staff. So it's probably not one of those costs that we can quantify on an event basis. But I'm sure that many of you have noted over the years that activation after activation has caused us to have to either postpone workshops that you maybe had been hoping to achieve. Perhaps there were projects underway that you were hoping to kick off, and those all had to be set aside while we responded to these events. So I expect in 2021, there's a number of workshops that the EASC members have requested. And I know that Director Bales in particular was really hoping that we could get that EMBC member to come back. They had been scheduled last year to provide this committee with some education and some training around emergency operations. They have not been able to, obviously, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But absent of that, we will continue to push forward and try to bring this kind of education and this kind of awareness so that you can be advocates for your areas to provincial levels.
Good, thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. Other directors who'd like to enter into this discussion?
Adamson.
Director Adamson, please go ahead.
I think this is much needed. It seems over the last 3-4 years, we've been going from disaster to disaster to disaster. And I know it takes a toll on everybody, and especially our staff when they set up that emergency headquarters there. I don't want it to be a downloading from the province. I think the province, if they want us to, and our staff to do the work, they should give some funding to it. And also they rely a lot on volunteers, and volunteers are aging out, and I don't see the younger people actually stepping up. So, I mean, we need to do something about that as well. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Director Adamson. Director Bales, and then Director.
Yeah, thanks. I definitely support this. There's a real need. And I just, to staff, what is the deadline for UBCM resolutions? Just curious.
Through the chair to Director Bales, the process for resolutions with UBCM, first they have to go through the local association. We have a staff team that is currently working with your local association to work through that process. Now, in terms of if those are the board level resolutions, is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, and I know generally you want it to go through the board, and then it goes through local government, and then it goes up to UBCM. So I'm just wondering if there's any time to get other resolutions in.
Yeah, so certainly that's what we're working towards, and we've worked the calendar backwards. But if there are some specific, and we've got staff that have been tracking issues that have been coming forward either at this committee or at the full, or at RACs or through the full board table, identifying some that we think that would be shared interests across the region that would be worthwhile bringing forward to LMLGA and then up through to UBCM. But if there are some that you would like to talk about specifically, perhaps maybe just give me a call offline and we can work through that.
Good, thanks.
Thank you, Director Bales. Director Engar.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. What I'm looking for is just a better grasp of what the province is actually changing so that I can fully understand the scope of what needs to be done going forward. So I don't know if this is the appropriate time now to discuss all these nuances. I certainly don't want to belabor the point if it's not, but do you think the upcoming sessions that are planned will be adequate to give us that thorough knowledge?
Through the chair to Director Enger, yes, that would be exactly the intent. You know, the changes range as they would on any kind of document from some minor tweaks to some that could have more significant impact. Our staff has gone through all of these proposed changes. They are also connected to a network of emergency program coordinators around the province. This is being discussed at the CAOs, Regional District CAOs group as well. And we would be happy to bring forward an overview of what that analysis looks like at a later date.
Very good, thank you.
Good, thank you, Director Engar. And so from my perspective, this is an area of our responsibilities that I certainly am not well versed in. I know that on occasion we set up an emergency operations center for a period, a month at a time, and there's a lot of staff involved. How the expenses of that operation play out and how much of it is carried by us and how much of it is funded by the provincial emergency program, I have no understanding of that at all. But I'm hearing rumblings that the province is looking at sending more of that cost structure in our direction. And so I think all of the electoral area directors should be paying attention to this and trying to get a better understanding of just how the emergency management operations function. So if staff could just give us at least a cursory understanding of how it's worked in the past and just where the baseline is on this in our meetings in the near future. Maybe I'd ask Ms. Kinnaman to respond to that.
Yes, as I said, this is the first of many reports and workshops that will be coming forward in the coming year. This was felt to be particularly timely. We wanted to get this request going, but absolutely you will be seeing more reports to bring you up to speed on this issue.
Great, thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Contrary, the motion carries.
Moving down to item 11, I just have one report today that I will also be bringing forward to the full board, but I thought I would take a moment just to acknowledge a recent accomplishment of one of your staff. Jamie Van Ness has been notified that she has been certified as a CMC, which is a certified municipal clerk through the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. So it's a really wonderful achievement. It's something that we're really grateful that Jamie has put some effort into obtaining. For those of you who are not policy and procedure dorks like Jamie and I, you'll have to just take it for what it's worth, that this required a lot of additional professional development education and hours of experience to obtain this certification. So she'll keep us on the straight and narrow procedurally.
Good, thank you, Ms. Kinnaman, for that report, and congratulations through Jamie. Certainly not a surprise to me that Jamie's been putting a lot of work into getting better prepared for what she does for us. Everyone, I think, that's worked with Jamie understands her super hardworking ethics. So once again, Jamie, congratulations, certainly from me, and I expect the rest of the electoral area directors.
Thank you for those kind words. Thank you.
Okay.
So next we'll move down to reports by electoral area directors, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll start off with Director Engar.
Yes, pretty uneventful time. I've recovered from my surgery well and out collecting firewood. So that's always nice to be able to breathe the fresh air and feel like it's not going to make your body fall apart. You never know what you've got until it's gone, right? So other than that, it's been pretty quiet into the new year so far. And I hope and I intend to ramp up communications with my community regarding wildfire preparedness. Very critical topic as we head into the summer. Who knows what we're going to face? And I'd love to be able to pull up some of this water that has been coming down lately and sprinkle that heartily through the summer, but no real way to do it. So we'll take what we get and be as prepared as possible. Thanks. That's it for me for now.
Good. Thank you, Director Engar. Moving to Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know how Mr. Director Inger can say it's been, kind of uneventful. We've had windstorms, snowstorms, knocking trees down left, right, center, power outages. What didn't that happen in your area? Anyway, I'm super thankful for the snow clearing and the hydro and all the people, Emil Anderson, that really do work darn hard all the time, but especially when these kind of events come along, because there's a long time for power outage for us with the snow, especially. But yeah, it's good to see the neighbors helping each other out and making sure everybody was okay. So that was good. Our Goose Management Committee will be starting up again pretty quick, where we'll start with, believe it or not, we will be putting in applications again to manage the goose population a little bit and just see how we're doing with that. So we reached out to the group the other day and they're all interested in heading back, helping out with that. Lakeside Trail, I had a few meetings with them as well, with Chair Lum and with our CAO, just to continue to see where we're at with that and trying to stay on top of the trail. It certainly is very, very well used at the far end, the Aquadel Cottages end. It's just daily people on there. And I stopped to chat with the staff, a couple of staff the other day, Jeremy and Nicole, just to thank them for trying to keep that trail clean. It was pouring rain. It was just a miserable day, but they had big smiles and were doing a fabulous job. So I want to shout out to them and for their work. And just became aware also just on the weekend of a little bit of sad news that a former director of our area and Orion's area as well, Frank Sobkovich, passed away and late in the end of November. And so he was a director in '96 for 3 terms. So I don't know if anybody worked with him. I didn't, but I know that flood mitigation and getting the community emergency plan with the FERD was one of the things, a couple of things that he was successful at. So just to let his family know, we're thinking about him. And that's it for me.
Good. Thank you for a nice report, Director Dixon. Director Adamson.
Yeah, hi. Well, it's quiet all over the different communities, but we did have some things happen. In Yale, someone made a donation to the community center. We have a cult. What's the word for those things? We have like undercover where they have the skateboard. They have a half pike and they had a few other things. Because winter gets dark early, we had a friend of a friend give LED lights for the whole Quonset, and we had another donation from electrician to come in and hook it all up. It was done really well. I was up watching. They tried to get me to shovel, but I explained I don't know how to work one, so I didn't have to shovel. I just watched. But they did a really good job. They buried the cable, and now kids can skate till we set a time at 10. So if people want to come up and do that, that's great. Around town, nothing. Everybody's quiet, staying in. Sunshine Valley, I understand that the Tajmi was working really hard to get the outside done before the snow, and I think they've done most of it. So they can work inside through the winter. So there's that. And Laidlaw, I'm spending time down there with the people with concerns about Trans Mountain. Trans Mountain's taken over a big part of the area. They have the pipe yard, and then they have Johamel has a 350-man camp. And then there's also, I think they're trying to get another spot for maintenance. So it's really a big footprint in a little area. So there's lots of concerns there. I'm down working with them, trying to get them to start a ratepayers group. I told them that would be the best way to handle it. But anyway, that's it. Working away.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you, Director Adamson. It sounds like a very busy place. Moving on to Director Stobart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very little to report, actually. Storm, most people had their power back on within 12 hours as opposed to 2 days during that little snowstorm. So again, that was much appreciated. And again, I just want to send a thanks out both to our road crews and of course, our hydro linemen that I believe they had over 750 separate power outages between the lower mainland and the southern interior, which is an awful lot to deal with in a hurry. And again, we were very fortunate this time that we saw power a little quicker than the last time. It's one of those things you don't really know how much it's gone, or you miss it until it's gone, and it certainly was. So other than that, the cows are content and life goes on.
Great, thank you, Director Stovart. Director Raymond is still dealing with ostriches, I'm guessing. Director Bales. Director Bales, you're muted, perhaps? There we go.
Hi, sorry. So like everybody else, hydro concerns has been big on the agenda. People have been writing, some representatives of hydro and the province, just because they've noted an awful lot of hydro outages in recent years. I know I've lived here for over 30 years, and it seems like there's an awful lot more. Although it didn't seem to be too bad where I live because I was gone all yesterday, but I did hear back from a Lake Eric resident who said that his power was still off. So I guess it was a lot longer for some people than others. Yeah, so it's definitely something on the agenda for a lot of people to work on better hydro systems. I know they had a shutdown to improve some of the power structure, so a planned shutdown. So I hope that they are planning on better hydro connectivity. So other than that, Hemlock Transfer Station is now online. I've heard that there's been a few glitches with the snow, heavy snow, and also snow clearing has been limited. Whoever does clearing, I think there's been some machines down and things like that. But as I had said early on in the process, I think they almost need a Quonset hut for an area like that. They're running into the same kind of problems they had in their last station, where there's just too much snow on top of the transfer box to be able to open the lid easily. The trailer for the worker has had about 4 foot of snow from what I've heard, so there's a few bugs to be worked out for sure. And also the access, there's so much snow up there right now, the access has not been wide enough for an in and out for 2 vehicle width and place for the snow to go. So hopefully we'll work out those glitches, and yeah, so that's about it for my news, I guess.
Good, thank you, Director Bales. I'm thinking back to the Olympics year when there was no snow, so it's hard to get it right, I guess. Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. Other than the weather events that have already been discussed, I really have nothing to add. All quiet. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Director Davidson. Boring is often good in our business. On my own electoral area, we've still getting a lot of development, and we're getting some weather-related issues with that development on impacts with our existing neighborhoods. So staff have been busy looking after that. Otherwise, I've recently met with the new MLA, Kelly Padden, for the Chilliwack-Kent riding, and spent a fair bit of time once again making her well aware of the issues, particularly the sewer funding infrastructure grant that we really need up in Cultus Lake. And she seems to be working on that a lot and is putting a lot of focus on it. Also, I mentioned to her the Chilliwack River Valley issues with the inundation of tourists this past year and all the consequential problems that go along with that. So Director Engar, she's certainly very happy to speak with you about that. She seems to be a hardworking person and very interested in what's going on in the Chilliwack River Valley. So if you could perhaps connect with her, she would appreciate that.
Certainly will, Chair. Thank you for mentioning that. I dropped an email to her after she was elected and follow up for sure.
Okay, thank you. Otherwise, I think I have nothing else to add.
Okay, Mr. Chair, then we move down to item 13 on our agenda, which is public question period for items relevant to the agenda. And members of the public had been encouraged to submit questions via email to info@frd.ca. We did not receive any. Also, staff has advised me that we do not have anybody on the phone today. So next we would just look for a motion to adjourn.
Great, motion. For a mover.
Move.
Second, Director Stobart, all in favor, contrary, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.